We're bringing James Ham, a 1320 Kings insider, creator of the Kings Beat. This stuff is always funny to me, man. Always funny. Uh, the Lakers, they're just the Lakers are so thirsty to get something done. That every day, like a new column pops up about how they've got a new trade target. Yeah, who cares? What do they have? Like, what do they have to give up and trade for outside those two picks in 27 and 29? I think it is.
Yeah,
What are we doing?
That's not even.
What's up, Hammer? Hey, I guess first order of business, Hammer. I got my email about happy hour.
Oh, now, I had typos.
Unless you had a typo in the name, man, you might want to go sign up for the Kings Beat premium service immediately. Mark Jones joining happy hour tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that's lit. I did get the. I'm about to say I didn't even get. I'm off the list, but no, I got it. I see it right here.
Mark Jones. Yeah. No, I'm super excited. You know, like, look, I think the happy hour it's such a unique experience for people, and it's a way for you to like hear their story and get the behind the scenes and to understand more about the people that that are in front of the camera or that you read all the time or you know that you've been a fan of forever. And so I'm super excited to get Mark Jones, and he's such a busy guy that fitting him in to a hour and a half, 2 hour window on a Thursday night isn't easy. So it took a little while, but yeah, I'm super excited. I can't wait for people to get to know a little bit of the Mark Jones that people who are around the Kings know, because he's just one of the most genuine guys that you're ever going to run into, and just an absolute gem of an announcer.
Yeah, man. Mark is. We're fortunate to have him here in Sacramento, man. He is absolutely one of the best in the building, in the business, excuse me. And like you just said, real, genuine. You know, every conversation I have with him is a real talk conversation, man. So that's gonna be pretty dope.
Yeah, I'm excited. You know, you never know how those conversations go. The last one with Katie was just off the hook, just absolutely amazing. You know, people came away with a new appreciation of Katie, but I feel like that's how it goes almost every time we have one of the happy hours. They just like open a new window into people that you hadn't seen before, and I think it's really cool.
You can be a part of happy hour by being a premium subscriber over at the kingsbeat.com. Noah Syndergaard to the Dodgers. Throw that out there before we
Thor to the Dodgers. Jinx.
I just finally did something.
Kenny owes me a Coke.
There you go.
There it is. Right there.
He has one readily available, sadly.
Stop by the studio, but yeah, there it is.
James, concerned after last night's game?
Not really. Like I tried to like prepare people for this road trip. This road trip is just like incredibly difficult, and if you don't have all of your pieces like on the same page and doing the same, you know, like pulling the right way, then you're going to have some games where it gets ugly. And I think, you know, the job that Domantas Sabonis has done to keep this team on the right track is just absolutely amazing. And to me, he's an absolute all-star at this point. But man, he needs these guys to stop taking, you know, turns. You know, everyone seems to take a turn on the Sacramento Kings having a bad week, and they've got to stop it, you know, and he needs De'Aaron Fox to look like De'Aaron Fox, because he was back and he looked like he had a bounce in his step and he looked healthy. He still didn't look like the De'Aaron Fox we saw in the first month of the season. So it's go time. You gotta start playing hard right now and start figuring it out.
You know, James, I want to touch on the De'Aaron Fox point in just a second, but I want to get your perspective of how you view this team 26 games in. I think you said they played 25 or 26 games. 26 or 14
26,
12.
Yeah.
I look at them pretty simple, when it really feels like if they're hitting the three ball, that's what allows them to be a team that can compete and win games. When they're not, because I think they've been built to be a 3-point shooting team, when they're not, they struggle mightily. They almost don't have a plan B. Do you feel that way about this team?
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and of course, the 3-point shot helps a ton. But I think it's when they're moving the ball and cutting and doing all their things. And look, we knew this was going to happen. Even when I wrote long form on Jay Triano, what was it, on Monday? He said, like, look, the league is going to make adjustments, and then it relies on the Kings to make the next move. You know, this is chess. It's not checkers. You got to go out there and you got to know that teams are going to try to take things away from you. And I think teams right now, they're trying to make the 3-point shot difficult on the Kings on some nights, and other nights they're daring the Kings to beat them from three. And they're collapsing the lane, which is how they're doing sort of their draw and kick strategy. This team stopped moving the ball about 4 games ago, and that's why they've been all over the board. I mean, just look at the assist numbers. I think it's really the telltale sign of this team whether they're going to be successful or not. And I get it. The three ball has to fall, and it's a huge component of their offense. But there's also nights where this team has shot like 24 3-pointers and won. And they've got to figure out how to, when a team takes something away, they have to have a counter. And so far, the last stretch, they're showing us that they don't.
You said last 4 games. That coincides perfectly with the road trip.
Mhm.
Like they seem to be, in the numbers support, they are a drastically different team at the Golden One Center and elsewhere.
Yeah, but they've coming into this trip, they were 500 on the road, and to me, that's incredible. It's not like they don't have an opportunity here to still somehow split and save this road trip. They come out and play hard today, and they come out and they play hard in Detroit. You never know. The Raptors aren't playing that well, but if you can even get close, even 2-4 on this road trip, I think that's really good. Like I told you guys in the beginning, and everyone like, "What are you saying?" Like if this team, like when they won that game, the first game on the road trip that they picked up, it cemented the fact that they would come back at least 14-14 on the trip after the trip, and that's huge. Like because the schedule totally flips after this moment. So what do they play? 11 of the next 13 after these next 2 games. They play 11 of 13 at home, and it's an opportunity to rattle off a bunch of wins. So yeah, they have to make adjustments. They got to figure it out. But I'm not just going to say it's a road split, a home split thing. Clearly, they're riding the home crowd, that's for sure. But some of these players just don't play well on the road. Look at Kevin Herter splits. Like he's just not a good shooter on the road for some reason, and I don't know why that is.
Yeah. I think even to expand on your point, Nam, I think it's like 15 of the next 19 or 20 is at home. Like I know they've got 4 road games in that stretch of like all these home games over like till the end of January almost. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be the season for me. What they do in those 15 home games, that's gonna be the season. We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but De'Aaron Fox, I saw him last night. Like you, I thought he had a bounce to a step. I thought he looked, like he was moving really well. I just think he just didn't play well last night. Is that kind of what you saw, or did you see him maybe favoring some, his foot a little bit out there?
I didn't see him favoring the foot at all. I just thought he didn't play well. And like, look, you're gonna miss shots. He can be a little bit out of rhythm because he hasn't been out on the court. And when you have you
Who said
really,
somebody said, "Oh,
oh,
I was not even close. That was a
oh."
kick out at one. Not even close.
Yeah, when you have a stretch like that, right, where you miss, even if it's 2 games, like this is the NBA, like, and let's remember he had a foot injury, so you're not going to run him out there and keep practicing with a foot injury. The key to him, not playing was to get some rest for his foot. And I don't know if 5 days was enough or if he needed more or he needed less. All I can say is that like, look, it might take a day or two to get your rhythm back and to find everything. The biggest thing for him that I'll point to again was like it didn't matter to me that he wasn't scoring because that was an issue, but there was a bunch of guys having that issue. The biggest issue I had was he had 1 assist. Like, what are you doing? He needs to be the motor that drives his team. And it seems like, again, Sabonis brings his hard hat each and every night, and he doesn't know which guy is going to fall off the building, and he's got to try to save the team. That's what it always feels like. Somebody is just gonna come out and not have a good game. And Malik Monk finally had a good offensive game, but again, he couldn't hit his shots. And between Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, who else was it that I tracked? Oh, Kevin Herter and Malik Monk. They went 4 for 20 from three, and then you toss in Fox's like 1 for 6. So your primary 3-point shooters on this team hit 5 of 26. You're torched. You're absolutely done. And it's not just that they're missing the 3-point shot; it's that they're missing shots in general. You can't win when you got 19 missed shots just right there. I mean, that's just not going to be conducive to winning.
Well, to stall De'Aaron out just a little bit, and I agree with you and Damian, one assist isn't good enough. But there's twofold, and I mentioned it earlier to Damian. We can't, go crazy about how Sabonis is the initiator of the offense, and he gets everything going, and he's the one that sets everybody up, and then wonder why De'Aaron Fox's assist numbers are down. And then specifically when you talk about last night, I think the fact that you just mentioned the numbers that those guys had shooting is a direct correlation to the assist numbers. I think Will Z said he had about 6.4 potential assists last night and ended up with one. Assists are twofold. You can pass the ball to the open guy all you want. If they ain't hitting the shot, you're not going to get that number. So I'm straddling the fence, I guess you could say. I agree with you and everybody else who says one assist isn't good enough. He's got to do more, but it goes hand in hand with the fact that the other guys that you mentioned, Herter and Murray and all those other guys, were 4 of 20, whatever you said, from beyond the arc.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I need him to get easy buckets for his teammates. Like getting a 3-point shot is one thing, which is he's really good at that. But get Chemezi Metu a lob, get somebody at cutting to the basket where they get an easy one. It's not just about the 3-point shot, and that's how Sabonis ends up with 5 assists last night, even though they really struggle as a team. It's just like, look, this road trip again. It's one of those grinding to a halt road trips against some really really tough defenses, some really solid teams across the board. And then the one game that you look at the end of the road trip that could be, sort of the game you could win easily is a getaway game, and that's not cool either. I mean, like if that Detroit game was tonight, I would have a lot more confidence in the Kings coming home with 2 wins than the fact that it's at the very end of the road trip and you're road weary, you're trying to get home, you haven't seen your family forever, and you're just exhausted.
I'm not worried about De'Aaron Fox at all moving forward, Hammer, but I am a little bit concerned about Davion Mitchell. Tell me I'm crazy and I don't need to be.
Like I've told you guys from the beginning that like he's the one guy who stands out that's hasn't quite grasped the entire concept of the offense. And that's all. Like he's so used to being a different style of player and he's just not being able to figure it out. And so I get it. Like defensively, I think there's only one game that I can remember back and I, absolutely called him out and blew him up for that, which was the Miami Heat game where Kyle Lowry just like destroyed him. But, like this is a guy who should be a 7th or 8th option in a in like an 8 or 9 man rotation. Like him and Chemezi Metu are like the back end of your rotation scores, and that's not easy. It's not easy because you got to stay ready at all times, even though you're probably not going to get a lot of the opportunities that some of these other guys are. And the problem isn't just that like he doesn't really know how to cut off ball, and he's starting to get a little bit here and there. But the problem is that you have to understand with this defense is that this offense is that when you cut, a lot of times it's about sacrificing yourself for the team. It's about drawing a defender, even if it's just a half step away, so your teammate can go do something else. So it's not just that he's not cutting for himself and getting buckets, it's that he's not cutting the right way for his teammates in order to create space. And it's something he's got to work through. And, again, like I told you guys in the beginning, like I like Rashawn Holmes as a player. I've got to know Rashawn Holmes off the court. And I've spent time in the locker room with these guys. That doesn't change that. Like when I'm watching a basketball game and I see what Rashawn Holmes is doing on the court, he just stands out as someone who's not doing what everyone else is doing. And if you're not looking for that, I get it. You're like, why is he not getting his lobs? Okay, that's fine. But the fact that he doesn't show on the high pick and roll, that the fact that he doesn't seal a guy off and push him to the sidelines, these are their basic principles of their offense and of their defense. And if he's not able to manage the timing of the game, that's on him. You're too far into it. Like if Chimezie Metu has been able to adapt his game and figure it out, but you can't. And that's where a lot of people, like, we hear it on Twitter, like, why aren't you guys calling out Mike Brown for not playing Rashawn Holmes? It's like, well, I'm not calling him out because I agree with him. Like, I saw the same thing he saw. And that's not even him having to tell me it. I watched it myself. So, like, there are a lot of things that this team has to work through. But that doesn't mean that, like, Rashawn Holmes will never play again for this team and he's just a waste of space, or that he's done something horribly wrong. It just means that he needs to work on the mental aspect of the game and get to his spots on the floor faster. And it's the same thing with Davion. It's just this never-ending cycle of these guys trying to learn what they're supposed to do while having very little practice time, and you're having to learn it in the game, and you're having to learn it in like 3-minute spurts for Davion.
I personally, there is no time limit with this question I'm about to ask you. There is no time limit. Davion Mitchell is what we're rolling with for the season as far as a backup point guard. But I'll ask you, Ham, in your opinion, how long do you think that coaching staff gives Davion to figure it out?
Well, because he gives you what you need on the defensive end. I think you roll all season long. Like, what's the other opportunity is to go to Matthew Dellavedova?
Well, I'm
Like,
saying like maybe pick up somebody. Like I'm not
Something
saying
more drastic.
Yeah.
yeah, okay. No, I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I personally think I'm with you. I think you roll with them all year, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm more patient than others.
Yeah, I mean, like, look,
Others.
they're going to keep rolling with him. And I mean, we talked about it last time. They can't just sign Trey Burke. They don't have a roster spot. And that means that if you're going to go away, if you're going to basically say, like, we're not willing to keep using Davion Mitchell in this type of situation, that would mean that you're also not comfortable with Dellavedova if you're going out and bringing someone else in. You would have to waive Dellavedova in order to make this work, or you'd have to waive Chima Moneki, which they're using down in the G League level, and they love him there, and he's putting up double doubles every night. They're grooming him for a bigger role down later in the season, hopefully, or maybe next season. But like someone else will have to bite the bullet there. And the other problem that you have is that if you sit the number 9 pick in the draft and say he can no longer do what we're asking him to do, then you're losing all value in him. I mean, he was a number 9 pick last year in the draft. So, like, you don't want to lose value in him. Other teams can look at him and say, okay, we saw what he did in the last 15 games of the season when he was given a bigger opportunity. We can probably figure out ways to get around the issues that he's having right now, especially if we just gave him the ball and let him basically do the Malik Monk role. Like, you would probably, he's not the flamboyant scorer that Monk is, but he's still a quality scorer in that situation. It's just his role with this team is different.
James, I'd been really looking forward to seeing Amias Queta.
You saw him?
Yeah, I went to get some water at the time he was in, and I read a tweet that he was in the game, and I never saw him again. James, that didn't go according to plan.
Well, it didn't.
My plan, at least.
It didn't, but let's be honest. He was in the game in the first quarter because the same exact thing happened to Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, look, going up against Joel Embiid in, like, this 2 or 3 week stretch is, like, the last thing you want to do. That dude is absolutely rolling. I mean, if he wasn't just spin moving.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's official.
Boy.
You can hear
Who has
you knew,
320?
You could tell by the silence that hit that it was going to be an official freeze. 320. and
Closest without going over.
just barely 320.
I am
Ooh.
back. I am back.
The official James Ham
Closest without 3 going
freeze.
20 is Aldrin J at 318.
Aldrin J, congratulations.
Aldrin
You-
J.
you
Nice.
You won nothing,
There it is.
but congratulations.
Yeah, like
So Kata in that moment was pretty tough.
yeah, it was tough, but I mean, look, Embiid is just destroying everyone. He's destroying everyone right now, and he was coming off a 50-point game. So, like, what are you supposed to do if you're a G League guy and you're coming in off the bench? I didn't think I saw. I mean, he was impatient. He was nervous. You could see he got up in the air and drew a foul. I thought the first play that he did, where he stripped Embiid of the ball, was really nice. He tried it again, and Embiid's too smart to let it happen twice, and got the foul on him there. Like, look, he needs to, if he's going to be at the NBA level, he's going to have 10, 15 games, get his feet wet, like find the speed of the game, because the speed of the game in the NBA and the G League are two totally different things. And you're going to have a guy who at the G League level is the center of the universe for that team. And then he gets to, the Sacramento Kings roster, and he's going to be like the ninth guy in the rotation if he is in the rotation. So like his opportunities are going to be completely limited when he gets to the pro level early on, and it's not just adjusting the speed and the quickness, but also adjusting to the fact that you're never going to touch the ball. And when you do, you're going to be expected to do a dribble handoff to one of your guards coming through and clean his man. He did set some nice screens though, like right away. Like, you forget how good of a screener he is. He's the second best screener on that team without any question.
He's a role player and a screen setter. And we've got tickets for you to see the Sacramento Kings take on the Washington basketball team coming up December 23rd. Caller number 3 right now, 916-909-1320. This might be one of the biggest Chatty House gatherings in show history. We've been giving tickets away for 2 weeks. Again, caller number 3, 916-909-1320, December 23rd, the Golden One Center.
James, one of the things that I've been saying a little bit today is it kind of seems like things are worse than maybe they really are. When you look at it, I think they haven't played great this whole road trip, but I don't think they played that bad against Milwaukee. Cleveland was, but they also didn't have their best player. The Knicks wasn't a good game, and yesterday wasn't a good game against, maybe the MVP of the league. But it hasn't, like, I think a lot of people are scared, like, oh, no, this is a proof that it was all a fairy tale and they're not very good. That may be the case, but I don't think we need to jump to that conclusion right now. It's the NBA, and they had a road trip, a 6-game road trip. They're in the middle of it where they're not playing great basketball. That happens all the time.
Yeah, I mean, this thing just bit them. And again, it's not over yet. Like, again, they could still win the next 2 games and go 3-3 on the trip, and everybody is celebrating that this team is coming back from the road trip after splitting. Like, that can happen. And the fact that you got blown out by Philadelphia, actually, in a certain sense, it helped, because you didn't play anyone major minutes. Your guys were already in the back packing up everything and ready to go. A back-to-back is tough, but you're also facing a Toronto Raptors team that's missing OG Anunoby and a couple other pieces. So, like, look, you got to go in there and you got to play hard, and you got to figure out ways to improve each and every day. And the fact that they just laid 2 eggs, it is what it is. You got to move past it. But that's what this team has showed us early in the season, that they're resilient and that they can move past these things, and they don't get stuck in the rut. And I don't know what their overall record is over like their last 8 games, but I think it's still over 500. And that's what you need to stop looking at, like, day in and day out what they're doing. Sure, they're 1-3 on the trip, but they're coming off a 3-game win streak at home, right? So what are they, 4-3 over their last 7? That's actually pretty good. It's above 500. So, like, I don't think anyone should be panicking. They should just calm down, let it play out, let this team figure out who they are, and when they have these bumps in the road, stick with them. I mean, just because you don't get to light the beam and everyone doesn't get to celebrate, that's just, it's okay. Every once in a while, your team is going to lose.
It's way more important to light the beam when we're home. You got 17,000 people leaving the Golden One Center wanting to see a purple light in the sky.
Yeah, or on Fridays.
Better be Friday. Swear they better beat the Washington basketball team, man. I'm telling you. I said it as if we're giving away tickets. The Washington Wizards. Congratulations to Tyler Jennings, by the way, who won the tickets to see.
Nice.
I think Tyler had mentioned in the chat, he's like, man, I got to win these tickets because like a family friend really wanted to go. So I'm glad he got to go.
In that case, I really need to win these tickets. I need to win these tickets the rest of the week, man. Yeah, I think it's tough. I stayed off of Twitter last night, not for any reason. Just I didn't do that. I didn't feel like this morning a lot of people were overreacting to last night's loss. I think it's frustrating to have two clunkers back to back, but I don't know that too many people are like, oh, this is the end of the world. Oh, same old Kings. And we mentioned, I had said something to you earlier, KC. Actually, I have an idea why some people might be reacting like that, because the season has so many like highs and lows, but there's something new that's happening in Sacramento. I'll share that with you. We'll return. We've been looking back, James, and we're going to look forward, not too far forward, just like an hour. Kings are back on the floor tonight, so they can erase everything that happened in the last 24 hours with a good performance tonight in Canada. Well, that's another reference you don't get. James gets it. James gets it. James knows about Canada. We'll come back. We'll talk more with James Ham here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. My company is sending me abroad.
Canada.
I thought we were going to do Strange Brew references.
Canada.
Do you guys think Drake is at the game tonight? I see his boy Vivek. Probably so.
Hi, Drake. He's going to go in the Kings locker room when it's over.
Vivek and Monty were on the
I saw that
last night.
Yeah. I grabbed the pictures. I grabbed the pictures off of our service from that in case I need them later. So I'm going to store these away.
That's a very good idea. Leezy, yes, I'm at every home game. Unless something dramatic happens, but I've missed 3 in 13 years.
Ham's not like us. He's working the whole time, though.
Yeah, I am working the whole time.
Yeah, we're working the room.
Yeah.
Well,
it's because you're moving down this.
Damien just can't even get around. He just can't even get around. He was stopping him left and right. It's crazy.
Shida, man.
Tell them lies.
Who else got a beam? Somebody else, like, I think it was the 76ers were mocking the Kings with a fake beam.
The Bucks did too. Yeah, the Bucks did too.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Let me know you taking notice. Lets me know that you know what time it is around here.
This Cardinals story is weird. Did you see that pop up? Steve Keim is taking a leave of absence. He's got like a health issue going on.
Man,
and
they've had a terrible
This is just terrible for them. Awful.
They've had a horrible season.
I posted. We got to get Will Z's article tweeted. God damn it, man.
I was bummed out to see that Twitch from So You Think You Can Dance died this morning.
Yeah, that's always just terrible.
I was sad to see how he died.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That, and he's got 3 little kids, and a weird situation. Have anything else going on? Yeah, Philly Photoshop.
Sorry, I'm just posting Will Z's article from
James. Are you in your fantasy league playoffs?
Yes. Yeah, but we lost to the worst team in the league on the last week of the season by 0.66 of a point. And that made us drop out from a division leader that would have had a first round bye, and now we have to play in the first round. And I'm waiting for scoring changes to come because there's a possibility of that, because it's so close that, scoring changes happen later in the week, Wednesday, Thursday. But I don't think we should have lost.
Yeah, there don't need to be no scoring changes. Not anything against you, Ham, but don't be letting me think I won, and then Wednesday, oh, we got to change this score. No, it is what it is.
Nope. If a guy loses a tackle, a guy gets a half sack instead of a full sack.
No, not you. I'm talking about no, it is what it is. That's that. We're not going back, and you should have gave him the right tackle then. Not going back and taking, especially now as a player, I'll be taking my tackles away.
That's funny. People are saying, let's see, I don't think Brendan's watched Die Hard yet. One of the great Christmas movies of all time. Realistic deal. I'm not going to get into a realistic deal, Tyler, right now. You can stop by and see me at the game. Do I think the Hornets would trade Mason Plumlee? That, if I'm the Kings, that's a guy I'm really looking at. Because he knows the system, and Jay Triano really likes him, and he can pass. And he's on a expiring deal. No, I don't think we're going to poach Bob Myers. The Kings are not going to poach Bob Myers from the Warriors.
The Warriors are going to poach Monty McNair.
Hey, you never know.
James didn't deny it. You know what that means.
I did not speak on Nerlens Noel. There are moments where I've thought Nerlens Noel is one of the worst basketball players I've ever seen. And then other moments where it's like, oh, look at that. He's totally serviceable.
That's harsh.
Our guy...
Though I did feel that about Yorgos Papagiannis.
Oh, well, yeah. Mm-hmm. It was terrible. Our guy, Worldwide Wobe,
big
with
Kings
his league pass menu. Kings at Raptors tonight. Fun rating of 74, which is middle of the pack for tonight.
Out of 100?
Yeah, but the highest is 79.
I'm not sure how you come up with that stat that,
James is calling BS on your fun rating, league pass fun rating from
Whoa. It ain't mine. I don't know how you come up with it either, but Worldwide Woe has his league pass menu, his fun rating of all the games that are played on a particular night. Tonight, the Kings get 74, which there's 1, 2, 3, 4 games that are at 74. There's one at 79, one at 78.
It's a lot of games tonight.
Yeah. But he has a little comment that it's 5 words or less, kind of encapsulating what, the story of the game is. And it's Kings at Raptors, 74 fun rating, 5 words or less. Beam needs batteries.
That's good. I thought he was going to say Beam beats dinosaurs or something like that.
Beam needs batteries. It absolutely does. Let's put some Duracell Energizer batteries in the Beam.
Kenny, how are you feeling about this this Giants signing?
I feel good. I feel great.
You do realize he'll be under contract when your daughter is 13? Just saying. Just saying. Yeah. She'll be a teenager.
Oh, that's crazy.
And wow. All I really care about is the next 7 years. Like the other 6, it's real happening.
Yeah, the 6, you still got to pay him.
Now, the thing about it is
going into junior high school and
just go full Barry Zito.
Season with San Francisco 49ers.
But look, here's what I always say about, especially when it comes to Major League Baseball, especially when it comes to the San Francisco Giants. Who cares? You guys make money just existing.
They're printing that money.
Billions of dollars, damn near. Man, who cares if you got to pay somebody $27 million when they're 39 years old? Go have another condo built down the street and make up for it. Ain't no salary cap. I don't feel sorry for nobody who has a 10, 12 year contract in baseball. Pay that man.
I don't feel sorry for him either.
and go get somebody else. Don't say, well, we can't pay him because Carlos Correa. I ain't trying to hear that.
Yeah, that's not how baseball works.
Go get somebody else, even though this guy is in the 12th year of his contract. I don't care.
Rough.
It's still funny. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Your daughter, who was just born the day before last, is going to be a teenager when that contract's over.
I don't want to tell you how old I'll be in the final year of his contract, so we can move on. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all right, Ham. I mean, we're all going to be older in 13 years. That's just the way life works. That just for men that you want to get for your beard, it ain't going to be working in 13 years. You're going to have
Nope.
to. That little spray I use on my that's going to be a wrap. It ain't going to work for 13 years. We had talked about the reaction of frustrated fans over the course of the last two games after these, two kind of eggs that they've laid against the Knicks and last night against Philadelphia 76ers. And that's just kind of the way the season goes, right? There's a lot of ups and downs to an 82-game season. I think one thing that's new for Kings fans are the ups. Kings fans aren't used to having the ups, so it's harder to grasp the downs when you're not used to having the ups. You're just used to down and then downer, and then somehow the Kings find a way to get even lower than the downer, and then they crawl themselves back up a little bit before they get to the downest. We're not used to having the ups, and I think that's where you talk about, same old Kings, that dreaded feeling. That PTSD feeling. That's what it is. It's because Kings fans aren't used to having all of the ups that they've had through the first 26, 27 games of the season.
Good point. Good point.
No, I think you're right. I mean, again, not to belabor the same point, but the Kings are 3-3 over the last 6 games. Like, they're 500, and they're 4-3 over the last 7. I mean, this team is playing. You sometimes you got to let a team show you who they are, and you got to give them more than 26 games. And with this team too, I wouldn't even give them like the 40 mark. That's not okay. The 55 mark, which is right around 50, 52, 53, 54, 55. That's right around where the All-Star break usually is. I don't think that's enough. We need to see what this team looks like in the last 27 games of the season, where they're making that stretch run, which is typically where, like, this team it fades down the stretch. So I think it's great right now that you look and they've lost 3 out of 4, and they're still the 7th spot in the Western Conference standings right now. Yeah. So be happy with what you got right now, and hope that they snap out of it and figure this out on the road. And again, the road trip still has 2 games that are, in all intent and purpose, these are winnable games. Like, you can go in and beat Toronto. They're not playing well right now. You can go in and beat Detroit. They're not a good team overall. And so, it's still there. You just have to find your game and finish your trip.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about Toronto and what you think about this matchup today. I mean, do you look at Toronto as a team that, kind of plays to the Kings' strengths a little bit? One of the things we saw with Philadelphia is they like to slow it down. They were successful in that. But if Toronto is the type of team that likes to get up and down, or is maybe a little more apt to getting up and down, that could play into the Kings' hands as well. What do you think about this matchup today?
Yeah, I think, in past years, Toronto's beat you with, the second that you score, they're already down on the other end, right? But that's not the team we're seeing right now. They're 25th in the league in pace. This is a super long team, and they have a bunch of players that I think would look great in a Kings uniform. Whether it's OG Siakam or Scotty Barnes, Chris Boucher. This team does have a bunch of long, super athletic players that kind of that missing ingredient that we keep talking about the Kings missing. And I don't know how you match up against them, but I know that if you go in there and you really play your game, that the Kings are a team that's probably the better overall team at this point. I still think Toronto is an extremely well coached team. Nick Nurse is tremendous, but this is a team who's 13-14, and if you want to be a playoff team, you got to go in and beat teams that are 500 and below every single time. And I think the Knicks, is one of the few times this season where the Kings lost to a team that was under 500 when you started, but I think what they went up to 500 with the win, right? So you're still looking at a team that's right around 500. Maybe Miami is the only other team, and I don't think anyone believes that that's who Miami is. So yeah, like look, you can finish this trip the right way and leave all of this negative energy behind. You just got to go and play better.
Marcus points out here in the chatty house on youtube.com/ESPN1320 that Toronto are league leaders in deflections. Toronto's also league leaders in steals as well. But James, I think you made your point beautifully with the line that the Sacramento Kings can play their game. I think they're a better team than the Toronto Raptors. And I couldn't agree more, but I think that's been one of the struggles of this road trip. Granted, Milwaukee, a very good defense, very, very good team. New York, good defense. Philadelphia, good defense, very, very good team. Toronto is a good defense, and like right now, they're just kind of slotted at an average team where we don't really know. I don't know whether they're up or down. You mentioned we don't really believe that Miami is a below 500 team. Toronto, I really am not sure what they are. Like I see their roster and think that they have the potential to be very good, but the struggle that the Kings have had so far this trip is playing their game, playing like who they are. And Mike Brown has been adamant about that since the Bucks game. They're not feeling us. We're not playing our form of basketball against these teams, and that's something that they're going to have to do tonight.
Yeah, and I'll point out a couple of things if you really look at like what Toronto brings to the table. Number one, they're not a good 3-point shooting team. They're 26th in the league. They're shooting 32% from three, but they're also their 2-point percentage isn't great either. This is not a great offensive team. They get to the free throw line a ton. They're a horrible defensive rebounding team, but they're really good on the offensive glass. So if the Kings have been in the top 5 in defensive rebound percentage all season long. That's one of their strengths. So if they can hold to that right now, then they should be okay. This is a team that does get a bunch of deflections, but also they lead the league in 10 steals per game. They don't turn over the ball very much. They're middle of the pack as far as assists, but they just don't turn the ball over. No, they're not middle of the pack. They're low. They're 25th in assists, but they're number 1 in turnovers per game. So this is a game. They don't make a ton of mistakes, but they're also not a great rebounding team and not a great shooting team. The thing that the Kings need to avoid is giving a team like this confidence from the perimeter. And it's something that the Kings have struggled with all year long, that teams that aren't good 3-point shooting teams just start hitting all of their shots. And if they can avoid that, then, like I said, they've got a really good shot. This team just is not playing that well, and it's a team that you can, walk in there and show them up on their home floor if you play your game. And again, I'm not sure Kevin Huerter's going to play or not. I haven't heard any updates as of just a little before we got on the radio, but he's questionable tonight with a sore ankle, I think it is. He hasn't looked like himself for a couple of weeks. He needs to find his game. He was better yesterday, but again, missing on 3-point shots. And does that mean if you're not going to have Herter, who starts in his place? Will it be Monk? Will it be Terrence Davis? There's some pretty good decisions that have to come in this game too.
Where do you know where that happened with Kevin Hurt? Has he been playing with something for a little while as far as like an ankle injury, or was it just last night and now he's questionable tonight?
No, I think it's just an accumulation of injury. It's an accumulation, how many, like I think I've told you guys this, when the Kings go out on the court every single day, and they travel with this too, they have these big like rubber pads, and in the middle it has technology that allows them, so guys hop up on the pads and they take like 3 or 4 big jumps before they go on the court, and then after they warm up and they come off. And what they do is they're tracking their explosiveness. Like these pads have all kinds of sensors on them that allows them to see not just like where their vert is for that day, but also like if we're starting to see wear and tear. I'm going to say there's a good chance that Kevin Herter has started to show some wear and tear and some of that stuff, just because he's being asked to do something that he was never asked to do in Atlanta, and that's just run around the court like a crazy person all game long. He's probably putting way more mileage on his body this season than he has in past years. And that's just me speculating. Like, I would have to actually see the raw data on it, but I'm going to guess that he's put in a lot more miles, and he's probably just a little beat up. I wouldn't think that there's anything like too major going on there.
From Kings beat writer Chris Biederman, who's in Toronto.
Yeah.
Tweeted 25 minutes ago, Kings coach Mike Brown says Kevin Huerter remains a game-time decision with an ankle injury, but there's internal optimism he will play tonight against the Raptors, per sources. Again, that was Chris Biederman 25 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Game
internal
30. So I think a game time. I think an official, James, you could correct me if I'm wrong. An official game time decision is 30 minutes before tip.
Yeah. Well, that's when they have to have the starting lineup in by 30 minutes before tip off. So
okay. So that doesn't. Yeah. I would assume.
Yeah.
I'd assume you'd start him, especially with an ankle. You'd want him out there warm. At least that's my opinion. But Kawhi Leonard, all of my opinions regarding how you handle off the bench and starting out the
Kawhi
door
Leonard
like his first game.
Everything out of
That's big facts. Yeah. That's absolutely accurate.
Yeah, we have no idea.
I like the matchup for the Kings tonight. I think of course, I did think this going into the Philadelphia game as well. I thought getting their ass kicked against New York would, all right, let's bring it back around. It hasn't happened too many times. Okay.
I thought they were going to win yesterday.
Philadelphia is really good. Toronto, I think, is a good basketball team. I actually think Toronto's better than their record. They're missing a lot of guys. They're missing a lot of guys right now. I think Toronto is better than their record, but I second night of a back-to-back, we've seen that they can win this. I would have more concerns had they not beat Chicago, I think it was, at the Golden One Center after beating LA at Crypto. So the fact that they've already done it.
Clipper Darrell Arena.
Oh,
that's
man.
What it's gonna be called.
Clipper Darrell. It
Shout
will
out to
be
John.
soon.
That's what it's gonna be
he's about to get all Steve Ballmer's money after that. I feel I think this team is gonna. I think they'll be ready for this one tonight. Whether they win or not, I don't know. But I expect a very different game than what we saw yesterday, and I even expect a different game than what we saw Sunday.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And Precious is out. OG Anunoby is out. Otto Porter is out. So. They got quite a few guys that are out. Juancho Hernan Gomez is probable. This is look, you got to play the games on the schedule, and when you drop a game, you got to have a short memory. You got to get back on the horse the next night, and you got to find ways to get over, especially on the road. And it's not easy, and the bumps and bruises they accumulate. I mean, I don't know if we have how many times has Domantas Sabonis been smacked in the face this season. But, I think the one good thing is that he keeps getting smacked in the face and not kicked in the knee or stepped on his foot. And so we're seeing him just continue to play. And he's been a workhorse. And I think this is one of those games against, a guy who's light in the shorts is what the Kings assistant coaches used to say, guys that don't have a big rear end. I expect Sabonis to go in the post against Pascal Siakam and push him all over the place. And he's just a bigger, stronger player. Now, Siakam can burn him with his speed and quickness as well. But this is one of those games where there are some matchups in this game that really should play into the Kings' hands.
Yeah, I really look at this Kings team, and one of the things that I thought really hurt them yesterday, even though they were able to manage it for a little bit until it got crazy, was the pace of the game. When they were getting that ball up the court, they were able to hang and it was a regular game with Philadelphia. But as soon as they start, going to the foul line, and James Harden got going and they were able to walk the ball up the floor, get the ball to Embiid, get Harden in the half court. That's when things got sticky for the 49ers. For the Kings.
49ers too. They didn't like the way they didn't like the way
they get up the field.
They didn't
get up the field.
They didn't like it. They didn't like it. Brock Purdy wasn't ready for Joel Embiid.
But I think if they can they can keep that. I even said the word. They get that pace up and get up the floor.
We can't escape it.
I think that's this particular Kings team, though. I think that's their game, man. They got to be in the open floor, getting up the court a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, they need De'Aaron Fox to be De'Aaron Fox tonight, and Van Vliet is tough. He's a guy that he's a gamer, and he will get into Fox and really force him to slow the game down. But you can't. You got to move the ball, and the ball travels faster than in the air than it does with someone dribbling it. So I expect the Kings to get out, try to push the tempo. Again, you do your basics in this game, and you got a shot. If you don't do your basics, which is defensive rebounding, which get the end of the possession, stop the possession, which
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
League leader in second chance points. The Toronto Raptors.
Well, they're also the league leader in offensive rebounds. Like, you got to get that ball.
That math checks out.
Yeah.
Those two seems like they would go
finish
hand
off
in
the
hand.
defensive possession, man.
Finish it. So if you do that and you do your basics, you get a high assist total tonight, between 26 and 30. Then I think this team will be okay. And they need to look like themselves. They need Fox to look like himself. And they need Monk to be the player he was, before the last 3 or 4 games. They need everybody to step up and start playing like they have at certain moments during the season. But again, we're still waiting for that moment where everyone is playing well at the same time, and it just hasn't come yet.
Very fair question from Rob W. If you're light in the shorts, does that help the wiggle in your hips?
Maybe.
Yeah. I would. I mean, there are on occasion guys who are big guys who got wiggle in the hips, but yeah, like that's just the way it goes. DeMarcus Cousins, that's who comes to mind.
I want to make sure I got this analogy correct, because this is an analogy I always feel weird. Light in the shorts. Tell me what this means again.
It's the guys without the big base, without the big booties. Yeah, the guys who don't push you around in the
Athens basketball players is what we're talking about.
Go ahead, Jim Ross. Go ahead.
Well, this
it's like dealing with a sophomore.
No, it's fine. I was just light in the shorts. Like I'm just a broadcast journalist asking questions. I wanted to make sure I got the analogy down, because
you should have hit me with a 2-parter. I would have been ready.
It seems like the wiggle in the hips would actually benefit from a big booty.
Well, you may not have the wiggle.
No, I mean,
be able to move.
I gotta turn you on to some Instagram videos.
Oh no. Yeah, I mean, look, Domantas Sabonis is a big guy who can throw people around, but they need him to use his strength in this game, which is something that he has
He's a strong
done.
dude, man. Yeah, he was pretty head up with Joe yesterday
when he got to play.
Yeah, well, yeah. When the officials allowed him, like, I thought he did a really, like, Joe couldn't move him, and I think, like we talked about, there aren't many guys in the league that Sabonis isn't stronger than, and then the same is true for Joel. And those were two big, strong dudes going up against each other. In my amateur eyes, thought Sabonis was great. Those highly trained officials, well, they thought otherwise. So
yeah, a big Bob Thornton used to use that line all the time, and it's because he had.
I love Bob. He was just a fantastic person.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, that whole group was amazing.
So good.
But he had Skal Labissiere, he had Marvin Bagley, he had Willie Cauley-Stein. So, like, you start looking around, you're like, okay, do I have one big...
Bob was the best of the bunch.
he certainly is not a guy who's light in the shorts.
No, he's not.
So
he's a big dude.
Things are circulating right now that Kevin Huerter's out tonight.
Come on, Chris Biederman. Damn it, pal. Who's that coming from?
Streets are saying.
Who's on the streets?
The G-Man.
Oh, well. Well, it's 3:55. Well, it's the hell with that internal optimism, I guess.
Yeah, that just went out the window.
All right.
Was it Chris Biederman or John Heyman?
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
Come on. All right, we're leaving. Thank you for being with us. Let's go watch Kings basketball. Go subscribe to the Kings Beat so you can be a part of Happy Hour tomorrow.